Hello and good morning or good afternoon or good evening to you, wherever you may be. And I'm Richard Lord. I'm going to talk a little about the future of international climate change disputes. And I'm a barrister in King's Counsel at Brick Court Chambers in London. And this is a subject that I think is of great interest and practical relevance, as well as being quite challenging in legal and conceptual terms. And I should say at the outset that it's a vast subject, and indeed there are over 3,000 cases on the main climate change database, the Sabin Centre database, and it's only going to be possible to cover a fraction of the various topics and permutations today. And although the title is about the future of climate change litigation and disputes, I think the easiest way to look at what the future is going to hold is look at the recent developments in this field. And just to start out, what are we going to be talking about today, given the multiple different types of dispute or litigation that could come under this label? Well, first of all, we're not talking about any type of dispute which might have a climate change angle. So there are all sorts of contractual disputes, for example, about the terms of issues of carbon bonds in the carbon markets, or contractual disputes about construction and maintenance and take-off tariffs and wind farms. Not talking about that today. And in addition, there are two categories of climate change dispute which are very common, but again, we don't really want to focus on today. And if one looks at the database, you'll see that the first category is challenges by way of judicial review, or the equivalent in other countries, of regulations made which are directly relevant to climate change and controlling it, or mitigating it, or adapting to it. And so typically, for example, a regulation will be made by a national authority or a local authority, perhaps imposing a carbon tax or a tariff or some regulation in relation to high carbon activities. And typically you'll get civil society groups challenging that in the courts, saying it's illegal or irrational. Or conversely, you'll get industry groups challenging it, saying it's too stringent, and so on. And there are lots of cases of that nature, but I'm not going to talk about those today. And then there is a second category that's also very important, but which really falls more under the heading of planning law than climate change itself. But these can be very important, and typically a project such as an airport or a road or some other development